Well, good morning. Here we are for number 2 in our devotional series. Earlier this week, we took a look at John chapter 13, the story about Jesus and his disciples. It's Passover meal, they've all gathered together, and there's a problem. There's no servant there who's washing feet. To wash feet, it would be this very demeaning job. Only the lowest class would do that. But Jesus gets up. He gets on his knees, grabs a towel, and does this job. And we looked at the story, really kind of emphasizing the character of Jesus, that we have the God who serves, and he's about to do this in a greater way through his death on the cross. But the story is meant to be here on another level, the level of us to apply. Take a look at what Jesus told his disciples. I'll be reading in verse 12. When he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. "Do you understand what I have done for you?" he asked them. "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightfully so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also shall wash one another's feet. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Very truly I tell you, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them." The key command. Now that I have washed your feet, you should wash another's feet. And notice, Jesus, he's not suggesting this. This is not optional. He expects his followers to be doing this. And this had to be a real challenge for the disciples because we know from other stories that there's this competition going on. They believe that soon Jesus will be king, and they're looking at that second in command role, and they want that job. So they're trying to up one another. They're arguing. They're trying to show how impressive they are to get Jesus' attention. And Jesus says, if you really want to be my disciples, if you really want to take on the mantle of your rabbi, it involves lowering yourself and taking on the mantle of a servant. Just yesterday, I received a message from Dan Scarrow, who's our district superintendent. This video is kind of encouraging churches, encouraging pastors. And he asked a pretty powerful question. He recognized that our world right now is in a state of crisis. Our country, even our community, we may not have a coronavirus here yet, but we are on a shutdown for the next 2 weeks. He asked this question: what do times of crisis reveal about your character? Who are you in these difficult moments? And I think often in times of crisis, we have a tendency to think about self-preservation. We think about ourselves. What do we do to keep ourselves safe? But yet, as people who follow Jesus, who take on the mantle of our rabbi, even in times of crisis, we're to take on the mantle of being a servant, serving others. I want to ask you, during this time, are you doing that? Are you finding some way to serve others? And not just in your family. I know this is tough now because many of us are shut in to one degree or another. But are there creative ways that the church can serve? Let me give you some ideas. I'm sure you can think of a whole lot more than I can. I mean, you can't talk face-to-face with people, but you can do a phone call. Why don't you call some people to check and see how they're doing, just to show some love? Here's an idea for families. If you got kids, what about if you were to make some cards for our seniors? Our seniors are shut in, or maybe even just cards for people at Perm Living. And you may not even know where to send them, but if you send them to the church, we'll make sure that they're distributed. One way that we can serve, that every one of us can do, is to pray. We believe in prayer. Prayer is one of our core values. Pray over our church. Pray over our community. One thing I've been doing is, now that we have these new church directories, is just taking a page a day and praying through those people. That's one way that we can serve. As followers of Jesus, we are called to take on the mantle of our rabbi, the mantle of our master. And part of that is by serving as he did. May we live that out and be blessed as we do.